a woman was forced to give birth on the floor of a jail, had to basically throw the umbilical cord underneath the door to let the authorities know that she was in fact not faking being in labor. How horrific is that? That's exactly what happened. Let's put up the picture full mass here. I have a hell of a story to tell you. According to a federal lawsuit, a woman was left to give birth alone by herself on a dirty concrete floor in a Maryland jail cell. Her name is Jazmin Valentine. The lawsuit alleges jail nurses ignored her screams, ignored her cry, ignored her pleas for help for 6 full hours, okay? Valentine was over 8 months pregnant when she was taken into custody for an alleged probation violation the day before she went into labor. Valentine, who had never given birth before, feared her baby would die and she might bleed out while delivering this child on a dirty concrete floor inside of a jail cell by herself. But realizing that no one was going to help her, she was determined to deliver this child on her own. Valentine was released several days later, and she said Tuesday to the AP, her baby is doing well. Let me give you some more background. Valentine alleges some nurses working for the jail, these are contract medical providers, Pennsylvania-based PrimeCare Medical Incorporated, said she was withdrawing from drugs, not in labor, and some jail staffers and medical staff laughed at her, saying she was just trying to get out of her cell late at night. This was in July 2021 at the Washington County Jail in Hagerstown, okay? So what's happening now? There's a pregnant woman, she's obviously pregnant, they can tell. She goes into labor, she's screaming, I need help, I'm in labor, I'm having a child. The nurses laugh at her, according to the lawsuit. They scoff. They say, oh, she's just drug addict. Those are withdrawal symptoms. They do not even check on her. There's more. Valentine claims she punched the walls of her solitary confinement cell, which did not have blankets or sheets, during her most painful contractions and removed what she believed was her baby's amniotic sac and slid it under her jail cell door to provide proof that she was about to have a baby. A fellow inmate, hearing Valentine's pleas, called Valentine's boyfriend, who called the jail pleading with staffers to help her, the lawsuit said. What happened again? An inmate. Is that familiar? Remember the story that we are currently covering, Castillo Vaughn in an Alabama prison? Who alerted the world as to his condition? A fellow inmate who took a picture and shared it with the free world. Who alerted someone to the condition of this woman? Another inmate who had more heart than all of the medical staff combined. All of them combined. You see, just because a person is incarcerated does not mean they shed their humanity. No more than it should be if a person is wearing a uniform and has a contract working inside of a jail, they should not shed their humanity either. Regardless of your status in life, regardless of your profession, regardless of your current situation, your humanity should not be set aside. There's more. The nurse also ignored a concern raised by a jail deputy about Valentine, but he did not contact any superiors. He discovered Valentine holding the baby girl in her cell about 15 minutes after she was born, just after midnight on July 4th, 2021, and an ambulance was called to take them to the hospital. Because of the unsanitary conditions of the cell, the baby developed a type of staph bacteria infection that is resistant to many antibiotics, according to the lawsuit. The lawsuit alleges that Washington County, Maryland, its sheriff department and sheriff, as well as nurses and deputies at the jail, violated Valentine's rights under state law. and the US Constitution. I completely concur. You see, policy said they were supposed to help. There's a written policy at the jail as to what they're supposed to do in a situation like this. They all ignored the policy, all staff members, okay? Every single one of them on the same page to ignore the policy. Why? Because their culture is contrary to the written policy. As I always say, culture eats policy alive every day. How do you change that? You change that by transforming the dynamics of the people involved. Sometimes they have to be transferred or arrested and held accountable. That's how you change the culture. If there's an infraction with no enforcement, there's nothing. There has to be a level of enforcement here in order for the culture to transform and people that are human get a human experience. David, thoughts on this?
This was just medieval. I mean, this should never happen anywhere in the world in this day and age. And I just hope, I just pray that the people who are so concerned about the right to life, the people who say that every child is precious, every fetus is precious, everybody is precious, I hope they are just as outraged about this situation, what the sheriffs and the nurses and the jailers were doing in Hagerstown, Maryland, as the rest of us are, because it shouldn't matter whether what this woman's background was, whether she was a drug user or not. You're talking about a human being who deserves dignity, and dignity not just for her, but also for this baby that was born. And I just, I'm just horrified on so many levels.
Yeah, and we're going to follow this. I do expect there to be a massive lawsuit. I'm glad the child is okay, according to the latest report. We're going to continue to follow the story as it develops.